Hello, and welcome to Chris's Creative Corner, Episode 8. My name is Chris Cole, and I am a small-time, very small-time, super-duper small-time published author. If you have been listening, you know what this podcast is about. If this is your first episode, welcome. What I like to do here is I answer questions about my status as an author and about books in general, and then I read chapters of my book. So it's kind of like tuning in for an audiobook, but with the author and having a discussion and that kind of thing. At the end of the entire book, I will bring on a guest and we will talk about the book and get into characters and scenes and things they liked and things they didn't like, and honestly hold me accountable for some of the crap that I've put the characters through. Like last week, we discovered that Nick got hit by a car at the end of the chapter and was knocked unconscious. So now we're kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen with Nick? But before we get to that, we have questions for Chris, which is a segment I introduced, which is 2 questions from readers, viewers, listeners, friends, family, whatever. However you want to submit questions to me, I'm on the social media. I'm on all of the social media. And you can ask me questions, send me a message, post on my whatever, just send a carrier pigeon if you want. Like, get it figured out. Like, I'll answer your question, not a problem. The first question comes from Instagram, of all places, which I was excited about because I don't have a whole lot of presence on Instagram. I don't post a lot of pictures. I've started posting videos and stuff as I work on TikTok and everything, so it was really nice to get a message on there from Instagram. The question: what was one of the most surprising things you learned in creating your books? And I think the thing that has surprised me most is probably character development. It almost makes me feel like I have all of these people living inside of me, and all these different ideas, and it's like I have all these different personalities within me, all these different characters, where I can take like one person and create an entire person around them based on like a character trait that I have. And so any character that you read about um, is either someone based off of me or based off of a person I know. And because I try to flesh out my characters, even if it's based off of a character I know, I still try to include portions of myself. So it's really interesting to kind of read these characters and be like, oh, that's annoying. And I'll be like, dude, that's you. Like, that's totally you. And I'd be like, yeah, maybe that's why I don't like this character, is because I relate to them so much because we're so alike. That's the thing. So yeah, that's probably one of the most surprising things, is just about the writing itself. Um, Outside of that, the most surprising thing about publishing in general is how complicated it is. There are so many different websites, so many different places you can go to get a book published now. You can do it all yourself, and it's quite fascinating. And ultimately, I just still don't know how it works. I'm doing my best, but there's still a lot of things to learn. Second question is, how many books have you written and which is your favorite? So I have had, at this point, I've had 5 books published. 3 of them are romances, 2 are erotic romances. I have a series of 4 sci-fi novels coming out, so that's 9. I have a planned fantasy series, of which I have written 6 books of, so there's 15. And then I have a paranormal horror romance, which is a thing, that I haven't looked at. It's one of the first books I wrote, and I haven't looked at it for a long time. And that is number 16. And then I've written a couple short stories. So overall, I've had 5 books published, and I think I've written a total of 16 to 20 books/stories with more planned. So I have a lot of ideas on what I want to do with my writing and everything, and we'll see from there how that goes. So now that I have answered questions, we're going to move on to chapter 8. Last chapter ended on kind of cliffhanger, like I talked about. Poor Nick, got hit by a car. Um, oh my god, we're going to figure out what happens in chapter 8. Chapter 8, Like a Broken Record. I woke up on one of those ambulance gurneys, the sun beating down on my face. I felt like a dog with one of those cones around its neck as I realized I had a neck brace on. I laid there for a moment, feeling stunned, until an EMT with brooding eyebrows stood over me, shining a flashlight in my eyes. I'm not going to the hospital. Sir, I need you to stay still and calm. You've suffered a bump to the head. Can you tell me your name? William Nicholas Martins Jr., but don't call me Junior, and I can't afford an ambulance ride. He asked me a few other questions. I felt around my head. I could feel a bump and possible scab. My right knee really hurt. I tried to move it and cried out in pain. Sir, please don't move. We're going to get you to the hospital. Is my leg broken? Hey, where's that fucking driver? Junior, oh my god, you're awake. I was so worried. I heard Bethany's voice before I saw her. Then she was standing over me. Are you okay? I frowned. I mean, I guess not if I have to go to the hospital. Well, don't worry about anything. I'll cover your shifts for as long as needed. Just keep in touch and let me know how you're doing. And we've got it all on video so the driver can't get very far. Slowly, everything got taken care of. Unfortunately, I had to go to the hospital because they weren't sure what was wrong with my knee. I would need x-rays. Great. The hotel's insurance better be covering all this. The EMT patted me on the shoulder as the ambulance began pulling away. Don't you worry about the insurance. Just take care of yourself and focus on getting better, okay? Spoken like someone who doesn't make $9 an hour. I thought about the events leading up to being hit by the car and my insides curdled. Wait! Where's my phone? I was on the phone when I got hit. All your belongings are in this bag. He held it up. I reached for it, pain shooting through my leg as I pulled. He set the bag down, out of reach. We need you to stay with us and not on the phone. But I was on the phone with my record label. I'm in a band and I need to go back to Nashville. You'll be able to deal with all that once you're taken care of. He was firm, but he was still being nice. I laid back on the gurney with a sigh. The ride to the hospital seemed like it was taking forever, so I decided to fill the silence. So, have you always wanted to be an EMT? The guy turned to me, surprised, but he smiled. Yeah, I was in a car accident when I was 12 and had to help my sister stop the bleeding on her leg that got injured. I've wanted to be on the front lines ever since. Well, thanks for helping me. I suddenly felt very brave. Had they given me drugs, or was this adrenaline? I never thought I would be helped by a cute EMT after I got hit by a car, but here we are. He laughed, his eyes twinkling. Well, I never thought I'd be hit on by someone who just got hit by a car. Well, and not blame it on the morphine. I'm on morphine? No, that's why I'm surprised. He held out his hand. Scott. Scott Prescott. I shook his hand. I already told you my name, but I'm Nick. So, Scott Prescott, has anyone ever told you your last name should go before your first name? 'Cause pre-Scott? Get it? He rolled his eyes, but smiled. My friends joke my middle name should be post-Scott. I honestly don't know what my parents were thinking. No, I like it. I've only ever known two Scotts in my life. Well, three now. And they were all cute. It's like a requirement to be named Scott. Does the same go for not juniors? I'd never been so flirty. What was going on with me? And he was totally flirting back, which was pretty cool. I go by Nick, or I try to anyway. No, I'm one of the lucky ones. I mean, Saint Nick wasn't known for being a looker, but he sure was a giver. Scott raised an eyebrow. Well, I like a man that's a giver. I giggled. Oh God, I hadn't giggled in forever. I felt like I was a schoolgirl. Well, I can give, but I also like to receive, you know, gifts and stuff. Uh huh. Gifts. Is that what you kids are calling it these days? I laughed. Kids. You're not much older than me. How old are you? How old do you think I am? He looked at me thoughtfully, and I could feel my cheeks start to burn. I'd say you're 23, 24. Damn, good job. I'm 24. Yeah, I've got more than 10 years on you. My eyes widened in surprise. No way, you look like you're in your 20s. He shook his head. I'm 36. I grinned. So you're a man with experience. He grinned back at me. You could say that. Maybe once you're out of the hospital and on the mend, I could help you learn from my experience. I nodded. I'd like that. I'm sure I'll need help in my recovery, and who better than the strapping EMT who saved my life? He pulled his phone out of his pocket. What's your number? I'll send you a text so you have mine. And you said you're in a band? Maybe I can come hear you play sometime. That would be awesome. I gave him my phone number. I think we have a gig next weekend at Coggins. I've been there a few times. Have you ever been to Charlie's? I tried and failed not to cringe. No. He sighed with relief. Oh, good. I was hoping you weren't one of those gays that's all about going to the gay bar and having someone stick their hand down your pants as a way to say hello. I went there a few times and quickly grew out of it. I haven't been because, well, I actually only came out to my family like a month ago, and they were super unimpressed. He frowned sympathetically. That sucks. Have they come around since? I shook my head. I haven't talked to them, and I'm not going to unless they call. Dad was an especially big asshole. He put his hand on mine, stroking my thumb with his. I'm really sorry. I hope they come around, but I also hope they do what's best for you, even if that means leaving you alone. He removed his hand. My parents both died before I could come out, so I haven't had to worry about it. But I also have a lesbian aunt, so my grandparents were like, oh, well, we have another one. We pulled into the hospital parking lot. Soon they were wheeling me through the doors and into the emergency room. Being jostled like that was killing my knee, making my eyes water. Scott gave the doctor in the ER the lowdown of the situation, then gave me a pat on the shoulder. It was nice to meet you, Nick. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for everything, Scott. And the other EMTs, thank them too. The doctor proceeded to help me through all the x-rays and tests and gave me some painkillers. Then I was just lying in bed in the emergency room. The doctor had given me my phone back, so I sent Casey a text to let him know I probably couldn't make it to rehearsal because I'd gotten hit by a car. He didn't even reply, but showed up in a tizzy at the hospital. He rushed into my room and immediately gave me a hug. Then he jerked back like he'd been shocked. I'm sorry. I don't even know where you're hurt. Did I just hurt you? I'm so sorry. I laughed. Yeah, my head hurts a little, but it's my knee that's killing me. Well, less now that I took some pain pills. Why aren't you at rehearsal? He looked at me like I was crazy. You just got hit by a car. I'm not going to sit around playing my bass while my best friend is dying in a hospital. I'm clearly not dying. Actually, you are. The doctor appeared in the doorway, then immediately laughed. I'm just joshing. That usually makes the other news seem less horrible. My heart was still in my throat. Is it broken? Am I going to be disabled forever? Probably not forever. You tore some ligaments, so you're going to need minor surgery, a brace, and crutches for about 6 weeks. I sighed and looked at Casey, who gave me a reassuring smile. It could have been a lot worse. What happened, anyway? I'll leave you two to it. I'm going to file this paperwork and we'll get you set up and on your way to surgery. Thanks, Dr. Whatever your name is. He was already walking away. I looked back at Casey. Well, I was in the parking lot at work and I got hit by a car. It knocked me out, too. But that's not even the big news. I was on the phone with Omar and he needs me back to record more vocals. Casey raised his eyebrows. Wow, more time off work? How's that going to work? I took a deep breath. I don't know. But hopefully it will be fast so I don't have to miss more than a few days or even a week. Speaking of which, I should probably call him back. I don't even know what happened. And I dropped my phone, too. See, it's all chipped in the corner now. Son of a bitch. Casey shook his head and laughed. Your priorities, man. Of course, you're the guy that's like, oh, my poor little phone, when his knee's all smashed in. Yeah, I know. Oh, I totally got the EMT's phone number. His jaw dropped. He looked impressed. How did that happen? I hit on him, and he flirted back. You hit on the EMT while you were in the ambulance? Were you on morphine or something? You, never flirt, and you're not that good at it. I know. It was the weirdest thing, but he may even come to see our show next week. Casey sat down in the chair and pulled it closer to me. What's his name? Scott Prescott. He tilted his head. His name has his first name twice, with pre before it. That's hilarious. Yeah, he said he didn't know what his parents were thinking. So it sounds like you two hit it off. I nodded proudly. And he's really cute. I like his brow line. You mean his eyebrows? No, yeah, his eyebrows are on the line, but they make his face look intense. Casey scowled. Like this? I snorted with laughter. No, he wasn't grumpy. It's just how his face is made. He frowned softly, making his face more like Scott's. Yeah, that's more like it. Good. I'm glad to know you still think I'm cute. I rolled my eyes. I'll always think you're cute. He crossed his eyes and stuck out his tongue, lifting his nose. How about now? I grabbed the tissue box off the little table and threw it at him. It hit him square in the face. Hey! You're lucky you're all crippled now, otherwise I'd kick your ass. Yeah, sure. He stood up and grabbed my head gently under his arm and stuck my face in his armpit, rubbing the top of my head softly. Nookie time! I pulled away, smelling his sweat mixed in with deodorant and his cologne. It was my favorite smell. Stop it! You'll mess up my hair! It was already messed up, dude. Then I guess now it matches the rest of me. He gave a cocky sideways grin. Some of us like how messed up you are. Keeps it interesting. I called Omar right before I went into surgery to apologize for the phone call earlier. Well, as far as excuses for suddenly dropping off a call, I can't say I've heard it before. I'll make sure to book you with extra leg room for your bum leg. After the surgery and a night's stay, Casey was helping me up the stairs for the first time. We'd stopped by my pharmacy to pick up my prescription. It took several minutes of hard work navigating all the stairs until we got to his top floor apartment. Exhausted, he helped me lay down in bed, setting the crutches off to the side. I was already starting to drift off to sleep when I felt him lightly kiss me on the forehead. Good night, Nick. I'm right here if you need anything. See, so Nick's okay. That's all okay, right? And Casey, what is going on with him? So many mixed signals. We'll figure out more in Chapter 9 next week. In the meantime, that's everything we have for this episode of Chris's Creative Corner. We hope to see you next week. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do to let me know and give me a thumbs up and leave comments and interact with me. I'm sitting here alone in a room recording all this. It'd be nice to know that people are listening and care. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.